Did you know that proper recovery is just as important for your athletic performance as actually training and practicing? Let's get into it. Hey, this is Brandon Smitley here from Thirst Gym, and today we're going to talk about how recovery and these 5 tips of recovery methods that you can use to improve your athletic performance are going to help take you to the next level in how you feel, but also how you perform, and let's see what those are. So I work with athletes every single day, and it never ceases to amaze me when I talk to athletes what they're doing out of the gym to improve their performance. Now, when it comes to recovery methods, there's a plethora that you can get behind. Some of it's kind of junk, some of it's worth its weight in gold, and that's what we're here to talk about today is what is worth your time, your return on investment to improving your recovery, but also helping you what you're doing outside of the gym is going to help you in the gym and then ultimately on the field, court, swimming pool, or at practice. Now, did you know that a big reason that athletes see injuries and overuse issues is just the overall lack of recovery? And sometimes that can mean they're doing too much. Sometimes that can mean they're not doing enough on the recovery front. So it really depends on you as an athlete and what your current training schedule and how you train looks like. But at the end of the day, if you're finding that you're constantly injured, banged up, not feeling good, not performing well, chances are something in this video is going to stick out to you like, whoa, I'm doing something wrong. So let's see what those 5 things are. They're going to help you, and hopefully you take away one of these things to help you be a better athlete. Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about today is going to be sleep. This is the non-sexy answer, but quite frankly, if you are an athlete and you're training hard, you're practicing hard, you're going to school, you're doing all those things outside of sport and in sport to be better, but you're not going to bed at a decent hour and spending too much time on your phone before you go into bed, this is probably going to be your easiest low-hanging fruit thing that you can do to improve your performance. It's been shown that athletes that sleep more than 8 hours per night perform well, not only in practice, but better in games, better on tests, better in their general mental health. There's just a lot of quality benefits to getting quality sleep. And generally what that's going to mean is that you're going to bed consistently around the same time, you're getting up consistently around the same time, and then you're also decreasing the amount of screen time that you're getting before it's time to go to bed. Now, I will be the first to tell you, I'm not the greatest at this. I don't probably sleep 8 hours a night. With running a business and working with many athletes, I've got several things on my plate where I really struggle to get those 8-9 hours of sleep, but I do have some days during the weekends. I try to take power naps. I try to find ways to bridge that gap. So if you happen to be incredibly busy, I get it, understand, but do your best to get a minimum of 7 hours of sleep. If not, try to get 8 or 9, or sprinkle in some 20 to 45-minute naps throughout your day if you happen to be able to do so. I think you're gonna find that not only makes you feel better, but you're gonna feel like you have more energy when it comes to practice and sport. The other key thing about sleep is that you're actually preparing your tissues. I'm sure you've heard it said before, you don't build muscle in the gym, and that's quite honestly true. The gym is just a place where we provide the stimulus to build tissue, get faster, get stronger, be more explosive. But if you're not sleeping, that's where your body is actually going to give you all those hormones and the nutrients that you ate throughout the day to build and repair what you've torn down in the gym or on the field or court or practice or game. So by going to sleep at quality times, trying to stay consistent with this, you'll find that your recovery is not only better, but just in general, everything is going to be better, including the things we talk about next. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be nutrition. Now, nutrition is incredibly important for athletes because it's going to give you the fuel that you need to be able to perform and do well, but it also is going to be the building blocks of your recovery that you're going to get from sleep, which we talked about earlier. So there's 4 main ways that your body is going to ingest calories, and that's going to be protein, carbohydrates, and fats, and the last one is going to be alcohol. Now, my first suggestion on alcohol is if you're an athlete, I would just avoid it at all costs if you can. It's not going to do anything to aid your performance, provide quality calories, it's just going to hinder your recovery very, very badly. So wait until after your athletic career is over before you just choose to really, truly enjoy alcohol. And if you do happen to choose to have it, while you are training or some point, try to limit it to at most 1 drink per week, and it be in a social setting, something that's chill and relaxing that you're actually going to be de-stressed from if you choose to have alcohol. Obviously, if you're not of age, don't drink. The next thing I'm going to suggest is going to be focusing on protein. Now by there, I mean you need at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight to ideally optimize your recovery. This seems to be the sweet spot and easiest way for athletes to track, am I getting enough protein? So take your body weight, that's how many grams you need. So if you're a 170-pound athlete, 170 grams of protein should suffice to be able to get you recovered. That can be from a vast variety of sources. So whether you're a vegetarian or you eat meat, that's entirely up to you, obviously, in the way that you believe, but through both ways, you should be able to get those. Now, vegetarians are gonna have a little bit harder time stacking up those grams of protein. So if you can supplement through protein-based powders, that's going to make it a little bit easier for you to hit those numbers. Those of you that eat meat, it will find a little bit easier, but make sure you still diversify the type of protein that you're eating. So you want to make sure you're still getting eggs, beef, chicken, fish throughout the week, so you have a nice variety of amino acid profiles, and you're not constantly just eating the same thing, because different meat sources have different amino profiles, and that can help your overall ingestion of the aminos that you're getting in, help your recovery. Next is going to be carbohydrates. So the reason carbohydrates are important is they are the main energy source that you're going to use to be able to go and do things. They're going to provide the majority of your energy. So you want to make sure you're focusing on quality-based carbohydrates, avoiding less sugary, snacky, candy-like things, and getting things like rice, potatoes, oats, fruits, vegetables, legumes, and things of that nature to really fuel your training. Not only that, they're going to help you feel fuller for longer. You're going to have more sustained energy, and generally speaking, you're going to have much better digestive issues, or not issues, I guess, technically. Not going to have digestive issues by eating quality carbohydrate sources, where if you're eating the junk-based carbohydrate sources, you're probably going to have more digestive-based issues, but also they don't usually have any of the quality vitamins and minerals that we want, where the quality foods that I mentioned are going to have a higher profile of those micronutrients, which then are just going to help your performance in the long run. The last thing is going to be healthy fats. Now, this can be a variety. You do need a mix of saturated and unsaturated fats. Ideally, your saturated fats are going to come more from your protein-based meals, so like your beef or your eggs or your fish. However, what you really are going to want to find if you are a non-meat eater or a vegetarian, that you're finding a way to get that saturated fat from quality places, which is a little bit more difficult because they usually are found in protein-based sources. So you may have to supplement with some of that by eating different types of fats or cooking with different types of fats if you're able to do so. You also want to make sure that some of your fats are coming from unsaturated fats. Again, you'll find some of that in fish, but you also find that a lot of times in your nuts and your nut butters, your seeds, things of that nature. You'll also find that those are also very handy for snacks. So usually these are great things you can carry around in your backpack or with you in between practices, in between classes, in between traveling. That's easy just to be able to get 100, 200, 300 calories of quality fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, and then mix in a little bit of extra fluids and things there, and you're gonna have a good quality snack and preparation for your practice. The biggest issue I find with athletes on the nutritional side are the two-front issue. One, they're not eating enough protein, or two, they're just not eating enough food in general. So if you're a high-performing athlete, understand that the food is the resources and the fuel that you need to do well. If you are under eating, whether you have body image issues, which I would highly suggest you go talk to somebody, talk to a nutritionist, talk to a counselor. They're here to help you. Find somebody you can talk to about that. But if you're also just under eating because you're tired and lethargic, you need to understand that by increasing your energy that you eat can actually increase the way that you feel. And by having a better way that you feel and more energy when you actually are in practice, you're probably going to perform well. And it just starts to snowball one thing after the other. So my general recommendation for most athletes is to make sure you're getting a minimum of 15 calories per pound of body weight. So again, if you're a 200-pound athlete, you're gonna ideally want at least 3,000 calories a day to not only aid your normal general body functions, but also to fuel your practices, your games, and your training schedules. Again, that's a minimum. If you happen to be a very high-performing athlete, multiple practices per day, high metabolism, hard time putting on weight, you will probably find this actually approaching 20 times your body weight. So that in that case, in our example, a 200-pound athlete could be 4,000 calories. It may even exceed that for some of those that are really having a hard time putting on weight. So don't be afraid to eat quality food as much as you need to fuel the way that you feel. And again, the best way to tell by this is if you've got your sleep checked out and you're tired and lethargic in practices, games, and training all the time, food and fuel may be the way that you need to go. Our number 3 is going to be focusing on mobility and regeneration techniques. Now, this is something that I really don't like to do. I'm really stiff, I don't move well, but it never ceases to amaze me how poorly some athletes and clients move. So by focusing on your mobility, your soft tissue work, your stretching, maybe that's yoga, maybe that's sauna-based work, that is cold showers, cold tubs, different ways to focus on regeneration and feeling good. These are great ways to help you with your recovery. My first suggestion on the mobility and stretching routine is do it every day. Get into a habit of doing it every single day for your tight areas that you need to focus on. That might be your hips, that might be your shoulders, that might be your upper back, that might be your low back, that might be your feet, that might be your calves. You know generally what's tight and doesn't feel well. So focus on that, not only before training, but after training and even on your off days, so that you can hopefully feel well and keep that joint integrity as good as you can. The next would be different regeneration techniques. So my suggestion is probably, if you're gonna pick anything, I think going with a hot-cold contrast and a shower is going to do a good thing, and you can do it just about every single day at home. Just crank the shower as hot as you can, that you can withstand, don't burn yourself, as hot as you can, and that's gonna let the blood flow get to the extremities, the outside. You'll notice that your body turns really red. Then once you've done that for about 60 to 90 seconds, go as cold as you can take it. Now your blood flow is gonna go back towards the midsection of your body to make sure that your organs can be able to function well and continue to stay warm and do their thing. And then you actually find that pulls the blood from the extremities. And basically you're gonna create this flushing base effect. That's gonna help you feel better. You're gonna flush more blood back and forth throughout your tissues and aid your recovery. I'm personally not crazy big on the ice chambers and the cryotherapy. I know that there is some science behind that it can work well, but what I found is it's usually very expensive, and it's not something you can consistently do to be able to notice a long-term effect. So if you have access to it consistently, I think it's okay, but more than likely, I think if you just do a contrast shower at home, you're gonna get very similar benefits with next to nothing out of your pocket, except for maybe a slightly higher water bill. The other thing I'm gonna suggest in terms of your recovery is that you don't buy into the gimmicks of you need to buy this special therapy-based modality like a Theragun or Gasha tools. Those can be beneficial at times, and if you happen to have them, they might be worth using, but I would not specifically go out and buy those recovery tools just to help you feel better. If you've got access to a foam roller, lacrosse ball, regular stretching, yoga, and just things of that nature, you're gonna probably be fine. The contrast showers, as I mentioned, it's probably all that you're gonna need, especially if you're stacking this up with the first two things we talked about, sleep and nutrition. Okay, the fourth thing we're gonna talk about here to help improve your recovery is gonna be what I call stillness or breathing. Now, I find that many athletes are just overly stressed. They have a lot of stress going on in their life, and I don't ever have time to just actually, what I like to say, quote unquote, be. Just be still, be present, be in the moment, or just relax and vegetate outside of your normal everyday habits. So for many people, this might be going outside and going on a walk, going and sitting at the park and just listening to the birds and the animals and people when things go by. Actually be present and not focus what's necessarily going upstairs in your head, but just focusing around the surroundings. If you happen to be close to a beach, you know what it's like to go just lay on the beach and hear the ocean waves crash and how much more relaxed you feel. Getting outside, getting that vitamin D, being stillness, and then focusing on your breathing, in through your nose, out through your mouth. You could do meditation, you could do prayer, whatever you feel works best for this in terms of being still and being present is entirely okay. I personally just like to do some breathing drills before I go to bed, pair this up with some mobility, and I can kind of kill two birds with one stone. But really, as long as you find something that lets you just mentally decompress, it's gonna decrease your stress, decrease your cortisol, and you're overall just gonna feel better than whenever you go to do something. Doesn't matter what it is, I'm sure you've noticed when you get to take time off or you get to take a vacation and you get to just relax and veg out, you feel better. Try to make this part of your daily routine, but in a much smaller way for 10 to 15 minutes of that meditation, prayer, or time to slow. And I think you're gonna find that your cortisol levels being down is gonna enhance your recovery, the way that you feel, and everything's gonna progress much better. Okay, the final thing that you need to talk about as an athlete is what's called auto-regulation. This is gonna help your recovery tenfold if you can really understand how to manipulate and use this to your advantage. Auto-regulation is mainly going to come into play when you're in the weight room, like behind me. Now, you can auto-regulate in practice to some extent, but chances are your practices and your coach are gonna have high demands for you in terms of the drills that you're doing and doing the best that you can. You always wanna do the best that you can, right? But when it comes to the gym, many times you're just gonna have to learn to auto-regulate. See how your body feels for the day. Some days are days to really get after it. Your body feels great and you're able to go push 100%. There's gonna be other days that you walk in, your girlfriend broke up with you, something happened within your family, you had an argument with somebody, you got a bad grade on a test. Anything like that can affect the way that you mentally and physically feel before you walk in the strength and conditioning room. And that's gonna affect how you feel and how you perform in the weight room. So understanding how to auto-regulate what you're doing in the weight room will then also help your recovery. Trying to push and push and push in here when you don't feel good is just gonna continue to dig yourself a bigger hole, a bigger ditch that you're gonna have to get yourself out of. Now, if you're doing the other 4 things, the chances that you need to auto-regulate more are probably less, because if you're coming in feeling hydrated, feeling that you got plenty of fuel, plenty of sleep, you've been actually doing some meditation, a couple times a week, you've been doing a lot of these things and you feel really good, the auto-regulation portion isn't gonna have to happen nearly as much, because you're gonna walk in feeling good more days than not. It's an issue with the auto-regulation is when the other 4 things that I've talked about have not happened, auto-regulation has to happen, otherwise you're really gonna risk yourself getting hurt, because you're gonna try to push much harder than your body's gonna be able to recover from or handle for the day. So take, for example, you're supposed to do 5 sets of 3 a back squat at 82%. That would, on a normal day, that would be pretty challenging, but doable. But if you're coming in feeling really, really crappy and your 100% is now 85%, you're now working at over 95% of your what's best for the day. And you're probably going to get hurt doing that. So just make sure you understand, you listen to your body. If something feels heavy, you back off for the day. There's always another day to fight in the weight room. You wanna make sure that not only are you healthy and you feel good, but you're picking and choosing your battles as needed as you get to be in the weight room. And that's auto-regulation portion side of things is just gonna tie all this together so you can make the most of your best days and the best of your worst days that you can, because quite frankly, they're not always gonna be your best. To wrap things up, hopefully you took away how these 5 things can aid your athletic performance and help you be a better athlete on the field, on the court, or in practice. The main thing you need to understand here is that what you're doing outside of the weight room and outside of the practice or field or court is going to have a bigger role to play in your athletic performance than you really think. So make sure you're taking these 5 recovery-based strategies, maximizing them to the best of your ability, and you'll find that your performance enhancement is only going to get better. If you like this video, do me a favor, smash that like button, leave a comment, let me know what in this video you think is actually gonna help you the most in your athletic journey. I know personally for me, I can always look to improve on my sleep and my mobility work. Everything else I seem to do relatively well, but these are the 2 biggest pitfalls as a business owner and as a strength athlete that I've always really struggled with. If you can take one of these tips and implement it today, I highly suggest you do that. Use it to level up your athletic performance, and I'll make sure I see you at the next video.